You wake up 3 times a night to pee, you avoid intimacy but not because you don't want it. Deep down you're afraid something's wrong but no one's ever talked to you about it. Especially not about daily masturbation and how it could quietly shape your prostate health. I'm Dr. Evelyn Hart, men's health specialist with over 30 years of experience, and today we're cutting through the noise. You'll finally get the truth, what science really says about ejaculation and cancer risk, when too much becomes a warning sign, and how to balance your body and mind at any age. Because sometimes the smallest habits are silently working for you or against you. Do you think daily habits could be hurting your health more than you realize? You've probably never thought twice about it, but your prostate has been working quietly in the background for decades. And now, as your body slows down, it's starting to make noise. That dull ache when you sit too long, the interrupted sleep because you're waking up to pee, or the discomfort you feel but can't quite explain, it might not just be aging. It might be your prostate waving a flag. What if that discomfort isn't wear and tear, but a sign your prostate is overwhelmed? I've met hundreds of men who waited too long thinking it was just part of getting old. But the truth is, your prostate plays a far bigger role than most people realize. Let's break it down. The prostate is a small, walnut-sized gland located just below your bladder. It wraps around the urethra, the same tube you use to urinate, and its main job is to produce the fluid that carries and nourishes sperm during ejaculation. When everything is working smoothly, you hardly notice it's there. But after 60, things often stop running so smoothly. As testosterone declines and cell turnover slows, your prostate becomes more prone to swelling and inflammation. For some, it grows larger, a condition called benign prostatic hyperplasia or BPH, which puts pressure on the urethra and makes urination feel urgent, incomplete, or even painful. Others experience prostatitis, a painful inflammation that can feel like pressure deep in the pelvis. And for a growing number of men, changes in the prostate can be the earliest warning signs of cancer. I remember one patient in particular, David, 68. He sat across from me, eyes tired. He told me, "Doc, I used to sleep through anything, now I'm afraid to go to bed." I asked why. He said, "Because I know I'll be up 3, maybe 4 times, and when I try to go, it burns. I don't even tell my wife anymore, I'm too embarrassed." That broke my heart. Not just because of the physical pain, but because of what it was doing to his sense of self. You see, for many men, prostate issues aren't just medical. They chip away at dignity, at confidence. You start feeling like less of a man, not because anyone says it, but because your body quietly does. And it's not just biology. Chronic stress, lack of intimacy, and lifestyle habits compound the problem. When you're anxious, your body produces more cortisol, a hormone that promotes inflammation. When you feel isolated or avoid physical closeness out of shame, blood flow and hormone levels are affected. Even what you eat or whether you move each day plays a role. Over time, all these factors quietly strain the prostate. It's like a silent engine overheating under the hood until something breaks. The good news is, none of this is irreversible. But to take control, you have to understand what's happening and why. That's why this conversation matters. Because when you know the signals, you can respond, not ignore them. So let me ask you, have you noticed a change in your bathroom habits over the past year? More urgency, slower flow, or just a feeling that something's off? These may not be random. They may be your body trying to speak up. And strangely enough, there's one daily habit many men are afraid to talk about that might be playing a bigger role than anyone admits. But what does any of this have to do with masturbation? Let's go there next. It might sound strange, but what many men learn to do behind closed doors in silence could, decades later, be playing a quiet role in keeping their bodies healthier than they realize. Could something you've done since you were a teenager actually protect you now? For years, the topic of masturbation has been clouded by embarrassment, stigma, or just plain avoidance. But science has quietly been painting a different picture, and it's time we bring that into the light. One large-scale study followed over 30,000 men for nearly 2 decades. The question: whether ejaculation frequency had any impact on long-term prostate health. The results were surprising, even to seasoned doctors like myself. The men who ejaculated at least 21 times per month had a 31% lower risk of developing prostate cancer compared to those who only ejaculated 4 to 7 times a month. That's not a small number, and it certainly challenges the outdated idea that sexual activity in older age is something to be avoided or ashamed of. So what's the connection? Think of your prostate like a filter, one that collects, stores, and circulates fluid throughout your reproductive system. Now imagine never flushing that filter. Over time, small amounts of debris, dead cells, inflammatory compounds, environmental toxins can build up inside. Regular ejaculation appears to act like a cleansing cycle, helping to flush those substances out before they cause problems. It's not magic, it's simply your body doing what it was designed to do with consistency. But the benefits aren't just physical. When you climax, whether through intimacy or masturbation, your body releases a powerful mix of chemicals: oxytocin, dopamine, and endorphins. These are the same hormones that lower stress, promote emotional calm, and even help regulate inflammation. Cortisol, your body's main stress hormone, tends to decrease after orgasm. And if you're over 60, you already know how inflammation plays a role in everything from joint pain to heart disease. So imagine if something as simple as a few minutes of release could help your body reset, not just biologically, but emotionally too. That's where this conversation becomes personal. I've worked with many older men who carry quiet shame about their sexual habits. Some grew up being told it was dirty or sinful. Others simply never had a space to talk about it openly. But I'll say this as clearly as I can: when done with balance and intention, masturbation isn't weakness, it's self-awareness. It's a tool, not a replacement for connection, but a reflection of your body's need for release, comfort, and rhythm. And in an age where loneliness and silence grow louder, it can be a way to reconnect with the self. This doesn't mean everyone should aim for 21 times a month. Numbers aren't the point. What matters is understanding how your body works and making choices based on facts, not fear or shame. For some men, that number feels excessive. For others, it's normal. What's important is that the conversation opens up, that your choices come from confidence, not confusion. So I'm curious, does this surprise you? Have you heard this research before? Comment 1 if this changed how you think about daily habits, or 0 if it confirms what you already believed. Either way, you're not alone in wondering. Now, while the science is promising, there's always another side. Because for some men, what starts as a healthy habit can slowly turn into something that drains more than it gives. Let's talk about when helpful becomes harmful. Still, like many things that start with benefit, there's a line where help can quietly become harm. When does a release become a routine you can't control? For some men, what begins as a way to relax, sleep better, or simply reconnect with the body slowly turns into something else, something that starts to take instead of give. And the trouble is, most don't notice until it's already begun to affect the parts of life that matter most. The first red flag is substitution. If solo release begins to replace real intimacy with your partner or even the desire for connection, it's time to pause. I've had men confide that they no longer feel present with their wives, that physical closeness feels forced or empty. Masturbation becomes easier, more predictable, less emotionally complex. But over time, that safe escape comes at a cost. When you stop reaching out, when you stop risking connection, the distance grows. And not just physically, it shows up in quiet dinners, in missed glances, in silences where words used to live. One man told me he kept an old wedding photo beside the bed but hadn't touched his wife in over a year. She doesn't ask anymore, he said, and I pretend not to notice. That moment said more than any medical chart ever could. Physically, your body can speak too. Repeated friction without rest can lead to soreness, heightened sensitivity, or even difficulty maintaining arousal when you're finally with a partner. It can train your body to respond only in a certain way, under a certain context, and that over time chips away at your natural rhythms. You may find yourself needing more time, more stimulation, or more intensity just to feel half as much. That's not failure, it's conditioning, and it can be reversed with awareness, rest, and intention. Emotionally, the consequences run deeper. I'll never forget what a patient once told me after weeks of silent struggle. He said, "Doc, I felt more alone after than before. not because he did anything wrong, but because the habit had become a substitute for real connection and he could feel it. That sentence has stayed with me because I know he's not the only one. For men over 60, where identity is already under pressure, retirement, physical changes, fewer moments of intimacy, this kind of quiet disconnection can feel like a loss of control. Or worse, a slow fading of who you used to be, and yet here's the truth: you are not broken, but you may be stuck in a rhythm that no longer serves you. Recognizing that is not weakness, it's wisdom. If this resonates with you, you're not alone. Leave a comment below to let someone else know they're not the only one navigating this. So if overdoing it can steal your energy and silence your connection, how do you find that middle ground where release becomes renewal? Let's explore what balance really looks like. If too much can silently steal your energy, then perhaps the solution isn't to quit cold turkey, but to listen more closely. What if the key isn't quitting, but listening? Listening to what your body is telling you, what your emotions whisper before bed, what your spirit knows but hasn't had words for. Masturbation, despite what you may have been taught, isn't shameful. It's part of life. But like anything powerful, it's not meant to be the whole picture. It's one voice in the chorus, not the conductor of your entire well-being. Balance in its simplest form means this: your habits should help you feel more like yourself, not less. They should support your energy, not drain it. They should add clarity, not confusion. When masturbation helps you sleep, lowers stress, or brings a sense of peace, that's a sign it's working for you. But when it leaves you feeling anxious, disconnected, or emotionally flat, it may be working against you. One man I worked with told me he used to feel reset afterward. Now he said, "I just feel muted." That shift didn't happen overnight, but it was real and reversible. Here's a simple rule of thumb: if a habit consistently improves your day, you're likely in a healthy zone. If it consistently makes you feel worse afterward, even just a little, it's worth pausing. And I do mean pausing, not panicking. You don't need to make dramatic declarations or feel ashamed. You just need to check in. Ask yourself, am I doing this for comfort or to avoid something else? The answer doesn't have to be perfect, it just needs to be honest. There are moments when hitting pause is especially helpful. After a fight with your partner, for example, when emotions are still raw and you haven't spoken a word but feel something inside that needs release. Before intimacy, when stress makes closeness feel like pressure instead of pleasure. Or when you notice that old, familiar numbness creeping in, the one that makes the day feel gray, your body heavy, your mind far away. These are moments to check yourself gently, not to judge, but to guide. Because here's the truth most men don't hear: tracking your emotions is just as important as tracking your physical health. In fact, they're connected. You already notice when your knees ache or your hands stiffen. But do you notice when your joy fades, when you start withdrawing, when intimacy feels like a chore, or when you haven't really looked your partner in the eye for days? I asked a patient once when he realized he was lonely. He said, "When I stopped touching my wife, and I didn't even notice at first." That one line said more than any lab result ever could. It reminded me how disconnection creeps in, not with loud alarms, but with silence. These signals matter, and often your habits are part of the story, not the villain, not the hero, but a clue. I always tell my patients, the goal isn't perfection, the goal is awareness. You're not 25 anymore, and that's not a bad thing. It means you've lived enough to notice the quiet changes, to sense the shift in energy, to ask better questions. That's not weakness, it's wisdom earned. So let me ask you this. Have you ever used this habit not just for pleasure but to avoid something deeper? If you're brave enough, leave a comment or just a simple "and" know you've already taken the first step by being here. Now let's talk about something just as important: 5 daily habits that support your prostate no matter where you are on this journey. You've come this far because you're not just curious, you care. You want to feel better, stronger, and more in control of your body again. So let's move from theory to practice. Masturbation isn't magic, but these 5 things might be. Because truthfully, no single habit defines your prostate health. It's the sum of small, daily choices that build the kind of foundation your body can rely on even after 60. First, let's start with what's on your plate. Tomatoes, salmon, walnuts, leafy greens, these aren't just trendy health foods. They're packed with nutrients like lycopene, omega-3s, zinc, and antioxidants that reduce inflammation and support prostate function at the cellular level. I've seen men transform their energy just by swapping red meat-heavy meals for grilled fish and roasted vegetables a few nights a week. Your prostate is sensitive to what flows through your blood. Clean fuel makes for a calmer engine. Second, movement is medicine. Just 30 minutes a day of walking, biking, or light strength training can improve blood flow, lower inflammation, and help regulate hormone levels. And if you've never heard of Kegels, it's time. These simple pelvic floor exercises, yes, for men too, can improve bladder control and even enhance sexual performance. You don't need a gym, just consistency and the willingness to strengthen muscles you rarely think about but rely on every day. Third, get checked. I can't say this enough, early detection saves lives. If you're over 50 or over 45 with a family history, or if you're African American, it's time to talk to your doctor about a PSA test and a digital rectal exam. Yes, it's uncomfortable, but so is living with late-stage cancer that could have been caught early. I've had patients who avoided the conversation for years only to find themselves wishing they hadn't. Prevention isn't fear, it's self-respect. Fourth, manage your stress. Chronic tension raises cortisol, which increases inflammation, the very thing we're trying to reduce. You don't need to become a monk or meditate for hours. Just take a few minutes each day to breathe deeply, step outside, or reconnect with a hobby you lost somewhere along the way. And don't underestimate the quiet power of prayer or reflection. I've seen grown men soften when they finally gave themselves permission to stop pushing and start feeling again. Fifth, and this one might be the hardest, talk to your partner. If you're in a relationship, stop hiding behind silence. Intimacy begins long before the bedroom. When you start sharing how you really feel about aging, about your fears, about your body, you stop feeling alone in it. I've witnessed couples rediscover each other after years of silent distance. It begins with one honest sentence, "I don't feel like myself lately." From there, connection rebuilds. You deserve to feel like yourself again, not who you were at 25, but the man you are now, with wisdom, strength, and the courage to take your health seriously. These 5 things, food, movement, checkups, calm, and connection, might seem simple, but they are powerful, and they are within reach. So tell me, are you already doing any of these? Which one surprised you the most? Drop your answer in the comments, even if it's just a single word. You never know who you'll encourage by sharing. Because now that you have the tools, the question becomes, how do you put them together in a way that actually fits your life? Knowing is only half the battle. What you do with it, that's where everything changes. You've listened, considered, maybe even questioned some long-held beliefs. Now it's time to make it real. You're not broken. You're just waiting for a plan that finally fits. One that honors both the science of your body and the soul of your lived experience. Because real health after 60 isn't about chasing who you used to be, it's about becoming someone stronger, wiser, and more in tune with what truly matters. Let's start here. You don't need to overhaul your life overnight. You need small steps that stick. Choose one new food, maybe add tomatoes or salmon to dinner twice this week. Swap one habit, replace late-night scrolling with a short walk after sunset. Open one honest conversation. It could be with your doctor, your partner, or even yourself. These aren't grand gestures, they're anchors. And when done consistently, they shift your course. Instead of judging yourself by how often you masturbate or how energetic you feel each day, start tracking your patterns. Notice your energy in the morning after a better dinner. Pay attention to your mood after a meaningful conversation. Reflect on how frequency affects your sleep or your sense of connection. This isn't about guilt, it's about awareness, and awareness builds momentum. If you haven't seen your doctor in a while, don't go because you're afraid. Go because you deserve answers, because you're the one in charge, because you've earned the right to feel better and to get clarity. Ask about your PSA levels. Ask about changes you've noticed in your body. The more you bring to the table, the more power you reclaim. I've seen men walk into appointments nervous and quiet and leave feeling like someone finally saw them, not just their age. And above all, please remember this: you're not a statistic. You're still writing your story. Don't let one bad year, one diagnosis, or one long-held shame define your future. You still have pages to fill, people to love, mornings to greet, and strength to build. What matters now is what you choose next. So let me ask you directly, what's one thing you'll try this week? It doesn't have to be huge, but it has to be yours. Write it down, tell someone, or just say it out loud. You'd be surprised what happens when you declare your own next step. Let's bring this full circle. So now that you've chosen your first small step, let's return to where we began. Waking up in the middle of the night, unsure, tired, and wondering if this is just what aging feels like. It doesn't have to be your new normal. Not when you have real knowledge, a clear plan, and the courage to face the questions most men avoid. You've learned that daily masturbation can, in fact, support prostate health. But like anything powerful, it only works when done in balance, with connection, with purpose, and with self-awareness. When it brings calm, not chaos. When it supports your confidence, not hides your loneliness. And if this entire conversation stirred something inside you, a quiet yes, a long-held question, or just a sense of being seen, know this: you are not alone. You are not past your prime. You are not invisible. You are a man still becoming. There is nothing weak about wanting more. There is only strength in choosing to care for yourself again. You're not fading, you're evolving with more wisdom than ever before. If this video helped you rethink even one small habit, give it a like, share with someone who might need to hear it, and subscribe for more honest conversations about health after 60.